Today we are back for a little bit of barbecue and we are going to show you how to turn this into this. We're doing reverse seared barbecue steaks, baby. We're back for a bit of barbecue today. So after the success of the beef brisket video, if you want to learn how to make Texas slow cooked brisket, check that video up there. But we're going to be doing reverse seared steaks because it's one of my go-tos when it comes to barbecue. It is by far the best way to cook a steak. And if you are doing reverse seared on a smoker, oh, mwah, it's just chef's kiss. It takes it to the next level. That smoky flavor, the tenderness of the meat, it's all such a beautiful thing. But to prep this, there's not a lot to it. I don't need to trim or cut off any fat or anything like I did for the beef brisket. But what I do like to do is a little bit of salt rub just to help give it a bit of crust and a bit of extra character and flavor. So let's get started with that. So what is reverse searing? Oh, by the way, I'm using Carolina barbecue dry rub from Croy Valley. If you want to use the same one as me, not sponsored, but I like it. So there you go. But what is reverse searing? It's basically the opposite of the way that you normally cook a steak hot and fast. So what I mean by that is normally when you cook a steak, you throw it on the barbecue and you'll do like 4 minutes either side, depending on the thickness of the meat, and that will give you a medium rare steak. The difference when you're doing reverse sear is that you cook it low and slow for the amount of time that you need to get about 5 to 10 degrees below your target temperature. So for example, if we wanted to finish our steaks internally at, say, 54 degrees Celsius, we would low and slow cook them up until like 44 degrees Celsius and finish that last final bit of the cook hot and fast at the very end to build that crust, that caramelization, and get that melanoidin effect occurring in the meat. But because we've cooked it low and slow for the whole time leading up to that, it's going to be far more tender, far more juicy, less tough, and just kind of more melt in your mouth kind of feeling rather than what a traditional pub steak is. So it's my go-to method because it's pretty low effort once you get it down pat, and it's an incredibly repeatable, successful process. Now, the cut of steaks we're using today are New York cut porterhouses. Honestly, it's just a really great go-to. It's a pretty tender piece of beef. It's not outrageously expensive. These ones actually have a decent amount of marbling. They're not highly marbled, but they've got a little bit of fat to them, so they're gonna melt nicely as they start getting reverse seared. But you know, dealer's choice, what you wanna use. One of my other go-tos, probably more commonly than I do than the little steaks, is a tomahawk. If you guys want to see how to do a reverse seared tomahawk on the barbecue on coals, let me know, drop a comment down below and we'll absolutely do that. And also give you recommendations for good cuts of meat that are great for reverse sear on smoke. I'd love to experiment with some new meats in my mouth. No homo. You don't need a ton of rub, by the way. It's just enough to kind of give a light coating. We don't need to salt it up the same way that we would do with a brisket. It's just, and you don't actually honestly have to do this salting. It's a personal preference of mine to help add a little bit of flavor and seasoning rather than doing like the salt and pepper after the steak's done. I like doing my seasoning beforehand so it builds into that crust like I mentioned a little bit earlier. Now that this is all done, let's get our barbecue prepped. Before actually we go heading out to the barbecue and getting everything ready, we may as well put our temperature probes in. So I'm using an Inkbird here, which is quite a fancy little toy. Basically, it gives me a bunch of different probes that I can use wirelessly and stick into the meat, and that feeds over directly to my phone. You don't need something this sophisticated, but you do need some kind of a probe because without it, there's just really no way to know when the meat's actually finished being cooked. So I'm just gonna insert it from the side, straight through to the middle, and there we go. I'll do the same with the other other two pieces of meat. And this way, we'll get that real-time reading so that as we hit our finish point with the low and slow, I know to take the probes out, change the barbecue setup, and we can finish hot and fast at the very end. Now we can go outside and actually get our barbecue ready. Here we have our barbecue. This is a Texas-style offset smoker, and I'll talk through how this works in just a moment. But the important part is we manage our heat down here in our firebox. I've got my lumpwood charcoal already red hot and burning, ready to chuck in there. And I like to use a combination of charcoal, whoa, those sparks, charcoal and real wood. So I've got iron bark in there, which is excellent for low and slow cooking because it's got a very long burn time, but a low heat output. So it makes it great for cooking meats and stuff with. Now let's close this up. I'm gonna open up the fins to start promoting the airflow through the unit, because that's how you control the temperature here. The more you open up the fins on either side, the more air, the more oxygen that's going to come through, the more combustion, so the more heat. I want to get this up to 110 degrees Celsius, which I think is about 210 Fahrenheit. It will be up there if I am wrong. And that's where we're going to hold our cook for. So once you've hit a stable temperature on your barbecue, you can go ahead and throw in your meat. The barbecue is now sitting just a smidge under 110°C, so I'm happy to get started. And now we want to place our steaks on fat side towards the flames, just to help protect them a little bit better from that direct heat, so that we don't get an overcooking situation. There we go, all lined up nicely. We're going to close it up, and now this is where it's important to resist the temptation to keep opening up your barbecue and checking them out, because every time you do that, you're going to lose heat and you're going to lose that consistency of the cook. Right now, it is all about managing your fire and managing your temperature. So use the paddles where needed, the fins where needed to increase or decrease airflow. If your temperature does start to get too wildly hot, you can open it up the whole barbecue itself, let a whole bunch of heat out, and then close it up and readjust from there. But the goal now is to try and stick to that 110 degrees Celsius. This normally, for a steak this size, like a regular porterhouse, normally takes about 45 minutes to get to our target temperature, which is going to be 46 degrees Celsius is what we're aiming for the internal temperature of the steaks whilst reverse searing, or the slow cook part. And then once we've hit 46, we want to take them out, throw on all of our charcoal onto the bed of the grill of the barbecue itself, and finish hot and fast up to 54 degrees Celsius final temperature. You can also refer to this chart up on screen, give or take things depending on the thickness of your steak and the cut of your meat and the types of meats that you're cooking, but it's an excellent rough gauge for what type of temperatures you should be looking for different levels of doneness. Now, right after you've thrown your steaks in, you do want to restack your chimney and start your next set of coals, because basically by the time, whoa, I'm falling over. Basically by the time that these coals are ready is when your reverse searing is going to be done. So it lines up nicely if you restack, light, and get your next set of coals going straight away. Now we have hit our target internal temperatures. It is time to pull our meat. This one's actually needing a touch longer, so I'll leave that in for a moment. But I am going to pull the other two because they both hit their internal of 46. We'll leave this one to go for another few minutes. It's sitting at 44 at the moment, and then we can start prepping the rest of our grill. Okay. Let's move them out of the way. Nice. Now, I'm gonna raise the bed of the bottom grill. So you can see down here, this can be a grill and an offset smoker. Down here is where the charcoals go when you wanna do charcoal barbecue. And I like to have it nice and close to the meat because I wanna go really hot, really fast and build a nice crust. I'm not that interested in a slow cook here because that's not the goal of what we're doing today. But we can also repurpose these coals we have down in the tray down here and just slide them onto our charcoal grill section. Now, I've got to go grab the other chimney stack for the coals that we started prepping a little bit earlier. Now we've got the rest of our chimney coals ready to go. Let's throw them on top right here. Get a nice even spread. Very useful to have heat-proof gloves for things just such as this. And we can put our grills back on. Alrighty. Now, I'm gonna let these grills start heating up for about a minute or two, then we're gonna whack on our steaks and finish up the beautiful reverse seared steak. Now, because I didn't know this the first time I used probes like this, I'm gonna give you a disclaimer now. Take your probes out before you flash grill your steaks at the end, because you will absolutely destroy them if you do so. Words of the wise. That is one of the most beautiful sights known to man. The only things that can top this is a fresh glass of ice cold beer. That's it. That's it. That's the only thing that tops this.
What about a baby getting born?
Comes in a close second. All right, we are ready. Whoop. We are ready to cook. Let's slide our beef on. Oh, that sizzle. That sizzle is what you want to hear. Oh yes. Oh yes. Now what we're aiming for right now is a minute on either side until we develop the crust that we want. So when we get that bronzing, that bit of charcoal, that slight touch of burn, because I like a little bit of that charcoal burn on my steak, we flip and rinse and repeat until you got the crust you want. You don't really want to do this for more than like 2 minutes, 3 minutes absolute max, because remember, the steak is already cooked. We're not actually cooking it right now, we're finishing the steak. And let's go for a flip. I did this one first. Oh, beautiful. Look at those perfect grill lines. Absolutely fantastic. Oh, let me tell you about my rule of thumb while I lose my eyeballs. Now, I've got a rule of thumb when it comes to steak. It's literally a rule of your thumb. If you do this and you touch your thumb to your pinky and then touch that fleshy bit there, that's well done. To the next finger, the ring finger, it's well done. It's medium well done, something like that. You touch it to the next one, it's medium. You touch it to the next one, it's medium rare. And that like tension you get in your muscle there is kind of like a rough indicator for what the meat should feel like depending on the doneness level that you want. And let's go for a flip. How well do you want yours?
I don't mind.
Do you like rare or medium rare?
Medium. How's it feeling?
Feeling like my meat.
Too much info.
Yeah, we're looking pretty close to done. I think we're ready to pull. Might go, I know Tabby likes it slightly further along. I'll let hers keep going.
Pull mine, pull mine.
All right, there we go. Oh, just listen to that sizzle. Now, the beautiful thing about doing steaks this way is that if you take off a slice and you decide that's a little too bloody for my taste, just whack it right back on the coals. You can literally just adjust it and fix it as you need, but you're better off being too undercooked than too cooked because you can't go back in time once you've cooked it. Now, let's slice it open. Now, let's slice open our medium rare, straight through the center. Oh, look at that pinkness. Oh, absolutely perfect. And now the beautiful part of a reverse seared steak is that the meat has already done its rest because the slow and low is the rest. You don't need to wait for these things to start eating it. There you go. There you go, Odin. Enjoy, enjoy. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you want to know the perfect beer to pair it with, I recommend a lager. So I would say a New Zealand Pilsner. Link to that video right on over there to have the best beer pairing with the best steak ever. That is just, oh my God, I'm salivating. That is so damn good. Absolutely perfect. Thanks for sticking around. Let us know what other meats you'd like us to explore in the great world of barbecue and smoking. Until next time, cheers. Catch you later.